All right, well, good morning. This morning, we're going to do a little introduction into SharePoint and see what's going on behind the scenes of Teams and where cloud storage occurs. So I'm going to go ahead and share my screen this morning. Okay, now you should be able to see my screen. So as I've mentioned, whenever you create a team, so let me just open up my Teams application, and here I have a team called Greg's Personal Workspace. So when I use Teams and create a team, I actually get a SharePoint site. Now there's two types of SharePoint sites. You can have one that's as I mentioned, a group or a team site, and that's the easiest way for us to create a SharePoint site. That site is only available to the team, to the people that's a member of your team or visitors of your team. Uh, they can see that SharePoint site. The other type of site is called a communication site, and those are available, but you have to request those because those sites are open up as an intranet site. So not internet that's open up to the world, but intranet, where it's opened up to everybody at the University of Missouri. Let me show you an intranet site. Here's our MU M365 training site. So this way, anybody at the university system can access it, and it's noted here as a public group. And I've helped other ones set up sites, like the Faculty Staff Council for promoting jobs and everything. So there are some public sites. If I go back to our other site, the team site will look like this, and it'll be titled a private group. I was looking over here for it, but it's actually underneath the team name. So, as I mentioned, we have team name when you create a site and as you create channels, okay? So this is actually my team name. It is a private group. So this is what you will get when you go out to the SharePoint site. If you are in Teams, I'm sorry about jumping around here, the easiest way to get to your team site is if you pick any channel. In this case, I'll pick the general channel and go to Files. Let me make this a little bit bigger. Here's an open in SharePoint, okay? If your screen's smaller, you may not see that, but the three dots are here and you can say open in SharePoint. So that will take you out to your team or group SharePoint site. So just to give you a little tour around here, this is, again, consider the site. Each site is made up of different pages. So this is my home page, right? If you think of an internet site, and you go to different links to different pages. And then each page is made up of different web parts. So by default, again, this is what it would look like. I could come in here and click Edit over here on the right, and I could edit out my different sections, my different web parts of my team site. And once I get it set up the way I want, I can move things around. So if I click on, like, say, the document library here, if I click on that, here's the option. I can move it around and I can edit it, duplicate it, or just delete it. Okay. And then as you also could tell, if I click outside, if I come down a little bit, I could add, here's the plus. So I could add calendars, buttons, and you kind of go through this, YouTube's, some Twitter, if you have a Twitter feed you want to put on your site. So there's a lot of other web parts that you can add. And then once you have it set up kind of the way you like it, you can republish it and make that available, okay? The gearbox up on the upper right, and again, we're in the private group. So if I go up to the gearbox is my settings. Here I can find my site permissions, who has access to it. So if I click on this, it'll show me that all the owners of my team have full access to my site. My members, they have some limited control. They can edit. And of course, my visitors, they have read access, just like they would in Teams. But what else you can find in here is the site sharing. Who can share my site information out? So if I click on this, Right now it says by default, the site owners and members can share everything, the files, folders, but maybe I only want the site owners to be able to share site information out. And then you have another option um, that site owners and members, the members with edit permission can share files and folders, but only site owners can share the site. And you can read through that. Down here it says access request. So people who want access to your files or access to your site, you can turn that on. That's on by default, and then only site owners by default can receive the request, and they can allow it or deny it, and then you can customize a message. Or if you don't want people, if you want to keep this strictly for your group, you can turn that off so people can't even access requests to your site. I also want to show you what that looks like. This is under the private site. Let's just look at the public site again. You can tell on my public site, I went and edited and I changed the look. So if they come out to my website and click on home, you'll notice, normally it's on the left side, your navigation bar. I put that navigation bar across the top, kind of hit a little bit. And because I'm an owner, I see all this. As a visitor to my site, they won't see all this information. Just a little bit different here. If I go to site permissions on the gearbox, if I come up under the who can see my site, it's set to everyone except external users. That means everyone at the University of Missouri can read my site except for external people, because again, it's an intranet site. Something else, let's go back to our private site, that your team site. When I say private, that's your team site. Something else you can do to help you kind of get started. You can change the look, so you can change your themes, your color themes, and your header information across the top, what you would like this to look like. Okay. And of course, your navigation bar, I move mine horizontal to the top, and that's where you would move that to. The other thing I wanted to show you is a site template. This is kind of a bland look. Here's a template here. If I click on apply a site template, did I click on that? It should bring up sample templates, and I'm not getting anything up there. Oh, here it comes. Wow, that clicked on the usage, a site template. Here it comes. Okay, so here is some sample templates. Maybe you're working with the IT help desk. It'll kind of help you get started, probably do like 80% of the work, and then you could do 20% of the editing. It's kind of what the rule of thumb is. So this is kind of get you started. This is from Microsoft. Now, if our organization, University of Missouri, had some out there saying, hey, we'd like to use this standard on our templates, that would be located here on the different tabs. So let's jump right into a little bit more of what you're seeing over here on, I call this my navigation bar, how I cruise around my site. We talked about the home, right? And this is where I can do editing. And this is kind of your landing area when people first come in. Conversations, I was just in here a while ago. Normally, this is where you could come and email people on your teams. A lot of people are like, well, how do I email my team members within Teams? I have them come out of here and click on conversation. Normally, it opens up Outlook and opens up a new window for a new message. But I noticed that this something went wrong here. So hopefully that'll be resolved soon. Now, the documents is your document library. And you'll notice here, these every channel that you have in Teams is actually just another folder in the document library. I can also come out here and click on New Folder, and I could place other folders in SharePoint that don't show up in Teams because I'm at the root level of my document library. So here are some folders here that aren't in Teams. It's only on SharePoint. But you'll notice that all my channels, like my general, and I have an HR channel if I look back in Teams, they're actually just another folder in my document library. So I could come out here to SharePoint, select one of my folders, which is a channel, and I can do more things here. I mean, I can add a shortcut to OneDrive and share it, but on my three dots, I could restrict access to a channel that's in my team. So if I manage the access, by default, the members have edit access in Teams, and my visitors have read access to this folder. I could, here it says MU Kelly G outside contractor, maybe have people outside the university. I can give them read access to this, and they don't need to be a member of my team. Or maybe I don't want members to have edit access. I can come in here, drop this down and say, I want all my members of my team on this particular channel only to have view access, and maybe my visitors not to have any access because it's HR. I can say stop sharing with visitors. So this is how you can get more restrictive with your access to your channels that are in Teams. And if I go back to the top, these are all my folders in my library. Now, if I want to see just the channels that are on my team, let me minimize this one. Let me just open up this in the channel. So these are my channels that are actually in Teams. And it shows me, hey, this is a shared channel by that icon. These are private channels, and everything else is a public channel. So everything I was just doing there, I could come. Well, let's see here. No, I cannot. So any settings I do, I have to do within the list. You close that up. I have to do it within the library here. I cannot do it within here. It just shows you, without flipping back to Teams, what your channels are. Sorry, I thought I could make those changes there. Okay, going on down this navigation bar, your notebook. If your team is one of the staff notebooks or something, I'm a staff team, something that comes with a notebook, that notebook will show up here. This happens to be a staff notebook, so I can see that notebook within here. And I didn't mean to open that up, but it's a staff notebook if you created your team with that type of team. And what I did there, I can easily get back to that SharePoint. If I go to office.com, and I did not mention this, if you go up to the app launcher, you can see all your SharePoint sites by going to SharePoint. And I can see my sites here. Here's the team, the SharePoint site behind that team. Let me click on that and get back to it. Okay, notebook. So pages, again, are the different pages you can have in your site. Right now I have a home page, and some other ones I've been just kind of playing with. I need to, that was more for the advanced class, but how to create pages. But again, here's my home page. Site content. So this is where you come in and set the permissions, the site settings for your site. So if I click on site contents, sorry, I misspoke there. You come here and then you can get into your site settings. But the first thing you'll see under site contents is, what do I have on my site? This particular site, I have that one document library that I showed you, but you can also create other document libraries, or you can create list, event list, which are calendars, and you can kind of go through here. To see what you're able to create, I could come up here to new and say, I want a list or a page, a document library. This is your default document library that we looked at. So if I click on this document library, it shows the document library that I was at. If I want another document library, I can, if I go to create a document library, it gives me, give it a name and description and whether I want to show it on this left navigation bar. Okay. For example, here's research data. Maybe I have a bunch of research data and I want to keep it together in its own document library. So I'd click on this, and this is some of my research data. Now that is the only way currently that I can get to that data, that folder. What I could do is I could come here to the research data, and if I get to the settings of that research data folder, up here, the list name, you'll see there's a bunch of settings you can kind of go through, but I just want to show you the list name, description, and navigation. It'll bring back up that name, this, and then if I want to put it over here so I can get easy access, I can say, yes, please put that over there, because that's one that I will frequent. So if I go back here, here's my research data. Sorry, research data document library is over here on the left. So if that's a library that I go to a lot, a document library, then I can set it over here, just like I did this work progress. So let me find that work progress. It's a list. Okay, so that's available here. And if I click on that, I haven't set it up yet, but that's just a planner. It's like Planner, but it's a list. It's more robust. Another thing that we can do in our document library, besides, let me find one, HR again. I'm going to click on that folder, which again is a channel in Teams. If I select that, I can not only manage access, maybe I want to automate a rule. So I want to create a rule. If I say create a rule, I can say when something changes in here, a new file is created in this folder, then I want to do something. Okay, so maybe I want to email somebody, or I want some process. Maybe I have Power Automate, but this is a rule that something will happen when something's in this HR. I can also come down here, and maybe this is something that's important. I could pin this to the top, or I can have it alert me. So again, when I say alert me, when I can say, okay, in this HR, who do you want to send alerts to? And I can say, I can either send a text message or an email. Maybe we have a supervisor or somebody that is not really using Teams as much as maybe they should. They haven't transitioned over. Maybe I can say anytime any kind of changes or new items are added, email this person, okay? Or something changes in the document, but you can look, or you can send it immediately, or maybe you can send a daily or a weekly summary at a certain time. So this is just a way to alert people when there's changes in a particular folder. Okay, and we found that this is really handy as people are transitioning into Teams, or even if it's a SharePoint site, maybe your area only uses SharePoint, and maybe they don't make it out there as often as they need be. Then you could, anytime something happens in this folder, they can be notified. I'm just kind of going through my notes. I don't want to miss anything. So again, SharePoint is where you want to come, where you're going to come and to tweak or modify a channel, your folder settings. So on this folder, it's the same sharing options you see in Teams. So let's say I'm gonna pick on a folder that I don't have a channel for, this apps folder. Okay. So here I could, like you would see in Teams or OneDrive, when I can share this out to anybody. They don't have to. Of course, this is not a team folder, so I just create this folder. People you specify can view, so I can put an email address, and I can change your access, either view or edit. Okay, or if I click on this, anyone with the link. Now that I have that, let me make sure that that is available. I'm going to pick on another SharePoint site, because a lot of times in SharePoint, let me click on this poster presentation and go to the document library. Let me, this one here, let me click on share. Yeah, typically because it's a SharePoint site, you cannot share that with anybody with a link. The personal workspace that I had, that was enabled for training as a test. So typically when you go to share, you cannot use anyone with a link. just because of security reasons. Okay, I can say people within the University of Missouri, and then I can allow them uh, to edit it if they have the link, but I can also block download, right? So if I have PDFs or PowerPoints, I want them to view it, but I'm not going to allow them to download it. And then I can say specific people, same thing. People with existing access, maybe I set access back here at the manage access. So I set manage access, and then I want to send that link out to those people after I've set their manage access. I would set their access by doing manage access, and then I would say, give them direct access to a group of people. Then I would then come here, share that out, and I would set this to people with existing access. I'd apply that, and then I would copy the link and send it out. Okay, or I just send it to the same group and hit send. Okay, so that's how you would share it within within SharePoint. You'd set their access, or you would just share it like you would in anything else. You'd specify a group or a person. Another thing you can do, I see I have a few minutes left here, is the document view by default. Let me go back to my team that has a lot of documents. Here it is. So my document view here, you can have it just as all documents as a list. You can have, of course, a compact list, or you can do it if you have a lot of videos. Maybe you want to do a tile view. You can see the folders, and I should have picked one that had videos here. Let's go to my general channel. Okay, so now if I go into the tile view, I can see, okay, so these are Word documents, and you can see this one's a video, whereas if you're in the list view, it's kind of hard to see the preview, I should say. Okay, and then of course you can filter them by the type of videos, just like you do in your File Explorer. And here you notice what I've done. If you work within PowerPoint, if you work within SharePoint, maybe those documents you want to pin to the top, and I think I mentioned this before. So if I have this document, I could come here and I could pin it to the top, and then they could come straight here and just click on the document rather than going, trying to find it. If it's something that's important here, that you can just pin it to the top, and then I could. I'll start here. I could remove the pin. I don't want to delete it. Oh, unpin. I have to go to edit pin. I can move right. Oh, I see. You can put it in order. I could unpin. I was looking for unpin. The last thing I want to make sure to show you, and I might come up with something else, but just like you can in OneDrive, if you put an MP4, if you put a video file within SharePoint, you can generate a transcript. Okay. Let me find. I put one in here. Excel tips and tricks. I just did this training a few days ago, but so here's an MP4 file. If I click on this file, it will open the file and it'll start to play. Let me pause this. It'll play a little bit more once you see me wiping my face here. Okay, so up here what they have is video settings. It's telling you, hey, this is a new feature. If I click on video settings, here's a transcript and captions. If I expand that, I could say, hey, I want to generate a transcript. Your other option is to upload a transcript. So if you already have a VTT file, or if you generated one, you've downloaded it and edited it, then you can upload it back to this video. So I would click on generate. And I can do it in English. Excuse me. So I could generate the transcript, and I'll show you later what that looks like. What I also could do here is have chapters. I could turn on chapters, and I could come to my video and I could say, okay, at 4 minutes and 16 seconds, I'm discussing this, and I can mark this as a chapter, and I can go through my videos and create different chapters. Then it become like an index, right? So people would know, hey, if I want to look at this particular topic, I'll go to this chapter. So that's what generating a chapter looks like. So let me just show you what a transcript will look like. I have a lot of those in OneDrive. So for a video that's already been, let me go to videos. What was it in my training videos? Let me find one that already has a transcript that's been complete. Let me open up this video. Oh, sorry about that. I have to, oh, here we go. I have to be on OneDrive. It has to be in the cloud, like SharePoint. So let me open this up. Let me view this online. Go to OneDrive in the cloud so you can see the transcript. Get through my multi-factor authentication. Okay, here we go. Okay, now if I go down to my training videos, and when I open up one of my videos, that hopefully I can find one that has a transcript. Yeah. So what that will look like, you can see a transcript popped up. Now under the settings, I mean, if I open this up, I can see it's already been done. So I could download it and re-upload a transcript if I need to. But now I have a transcript option, so I can see the transcript. And right now, unfortunately, to make changes, I have to download it, make my changes, and re-upload. But it's supposed to be coming out in October, is to be able to edit this as the since I'm the one that generated the transcript, I'll be able to edit it on the fly. So I could come in here and edit it right away. And of course, if I come to a different part of the video and play it, it will, yeah, I'm not sure what that is, but it should jump down to that part of the, oh, no, I'll take it back. What I have to do is if I want to play this part, it'll go right to that part of the video. Okay. All right. Well, this, I see I'm only have a couple minutes. I should have left a little bit more time for questions. Do you anybody on the line here have any particular questions?
No.
Okay. Well, I will go ahead.
I have one question.
Yes.
Do you have to, if you want to create a SharePoint site, say somebody in a department here wanted just their people to have a SharePoint site, does it have to be created as a team first?
It does, unless you get special, and that's the easiest way to do it, right?
Okay.
Yeah, the easiest way is they can create a team, and it creates the site. That's a good question. It'll create the site, and then you could either use Teams or SharePoint to manage that site.
Okay. Because if
So
you
they
don't
can,
create a team, do you have to get that special admin? Okay.
yeah.
Would it
So
be the same as if you got the special admin? Okay.
yeah, the other type of site you have is a communication site, and that's opened up to the whole university.
Okay.
And they'll ask you the reason for it. But if you just want a regular private site, they'll just say just use Teams.
Okay.
Because it creates it, and then you don't even have to. If you don't want to use Teams to work with it, you don't have to. But it'll just generate the site, and you get the same storage. But you're right, it has the same. It'd be the same setup. So they would tell you just to use Teams. Yep,
Okay.
that's a good question. Let me put you all on the other screen. Any other questions? I will put this training. Let me stop sharing my screen. We will put this training on the library. One last thing I want to ask you all, and I'll put it in our chat, is to there's a survey, a follow up training form. If you all have time to fill that out, it just helps us assess the training needs and help us to continue to improve training for the university, and I'd appreciate that. Let me go out here and I'll stop this recording.